The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to our third installment, our webinar number 3 in the Sophisticated Business System for the Professional Landscape Company. Today we're looking at systemizing and streamlining your estimating for Manage 360, all within the DynaSCAPE ecosystem. My name is Joe Salemi. I'm the Product Marketing Manager with DynaSCAPE Software. So this third part in our 5-part series here, where we're essentially going through all of Manage 360, is going to focus on setting up your cost book and just getting everything right so that when it comes down to putting your estimates together, whether you're putting a maintenance estimate together or a design build construction estimate, everything is set up the way that you want so that you're not kind of fumbling around, starting and stopping and spinning your wheels. And that's what this is all going to be about today. So again, a high-level overview. Manage 360 is a complete end-to-end business system for the professional landscape industry. And so we have a full system of budgeting, sales management, or customer resource management systems, a landscape design system, which today we're going to kind of look at. I'm not going to do too much training in how that works, but rather how the integration with Manage 360 works. We're going to look at the estimating system and how that all functions and how to streamline what you're doing there. And in the next few webinars that we have left after this one, we're going to look at contract management, production management, mobile crew tracking, and billing, of course, along with reporting. And so, first of all, I have to say, this is not my desk, but I've had the opportunity to visit with lots of landscape companies, and this is actually a picture from one of them. So what we want to do today is help get rid of the disorganizational disaster. Really, studies have shown that children feel anxiety over a messy room. So, when you send your kids to their room to go and clean it, um, or, they're just not having a good day, most often what you find is that they either have a messy room or a messy closet, and that weighs on them. So helping not just your children, but you and your business life get organized just means a better way to get things done and just to feel better about what you're doing and just being able to get down to business without having to clear mounds and mounds of clutter off your desk just so that you can sit down and get to work. And similar studies, so similar to the studies that have shown that children feel anxiety over a messy room, it also draws parallels to procrastination tendencies. And so for me, one of the things that has really plagued me is that, the old saying, if it wasn't for the last minute, I'd never get anything done. Totally true. And so when you have all of this disorganization, a lot of this comes through and it just weighs on you, and you tend to wait to the last minute, and it's like just in time everything, just in time estimating, just in time presentations, just in time work to get done. And the more that you can plan ahead and more that you can get organized on the front end, the more that it pays off when it comes down to the busy cycle of the season. Here we are in the middle of the high season for design, build, and maintenance work, and things should be just flowing along. Things should just be humming. And at this point, if you're not, then it tends to show some key areas for improvement, and likely one of those items in your list, and I have a long list of my own things that I need to clean up, and in that top 10 is organization. And so procrastination being a terrible affliction, nobody wants to procrastinate. It just it, life is busy, and without proper planning, proper organization on the front end, that's just one of the things that happens. And again, especially, and it totally comes from me, and I know this applies to me and a lot of other landscape business owners in the industry. If it wasn't for the last minute, you'd never get anything done. So let's do something collectively to make sure this is not your desk. And if this isn't your desk, that's awesome. You already had a step of the game. But if this is your desk, really try and do something about it. Um, this is not my desk either. I think my desk is somewhere in between those two, closer to this side, but elements of the last image we saw. So one of the things you want to do is set up your workspace for the maximum amount of efficiency. Remember that time is almost never on your side, and a cluttered workspace or a cluttered environment is a cluttered mind. And so when you have a lot of things happening around you and there's just a lot of clutter, it becomes very difficult to concentrate and to get into the right headspace to do what you actually need to do. A big no-no is sitting at the dining room table. Um, Ergonomic studies have shown that the kitchen chair or the dining room chair is not ergonomically sound for sitting for long periods of time, and that can really do damage to your back and your posture. And so just don't get in the habit of sitting at the dining room table. Get yourself a nice desk, a really nice ergonomic office chair. Let's get the right setup for you. Make sure you have the right lighting, somewhere you can focus and really concentrate on ergonomics. And so there is a picture here of really it's a stool, not ideal. I chose this image more for the view. It's a very clean desk. There's not a lot of distractions happening, but one of the things to really focus on is having the right chair as well. You need to be comfortable. Make sure that that is something that plays a part in when you're setting up your workspace. This is not a screenshot of my desktop, but I really hope it's not indicative of your desktop either. Um, I like to be very neat and have proper file storage, and so having the right folders set up. Your desktop it should be a temporary holding ground for files until you can place them later, or just get in the habit of putting them in the right spot when you are saving them and when you're organizing. The same way that you're going to put plants in the right plants in the right place, put the right files in the right place. And so let's take a look at organizing your cost book. So making sure that you have all of your supplier material lists. So from TechoBlock, you have their catalog and you have their list with all of their pricing. From your nurseries, you have their availability list with their pricing, any kind of specialized pricing that they have for you, um, and making it so you get your pricing just right. And having a system where you can have the price that the supplier charges you plus your markup to recover overhead plus making a bit of a profit on that material, all goes to getting your pricing just right. And so make sure that the system that you choose or you are using can handle that. And then you want to be able to keep your material lists and your pricing up to date. Supplier pricing changes on a season by season basis. It can change. It can change mid season, depending on supply and demand. So you want to be able to adjust for supplier pricing updates in a easy way, one that is not a way that is onerous or a tedious task to be able to do. Make sure you have physical catalogs from your suppliers. Digital catalogs are better because you can search them, especially if they're in PDF or Excel. Um, and go from there. One of the nice things about what we do here at DynaSCAPE with Manage 360 is when you have your catalog in Excel, we can take that and during the initial load of your data, we can do an import of all of your supplier material lists that have their pricing, because then we work with you, like I alluded to in our first webinar as part of this series, where we work with you to set up your budget. So we'll help you set up what your costs are, what your markup, and then your profit, so that you can get to a price that works for you, so that you're not just running a charity and you're giving this stuff away at your cost, or even giving it away at a cost to you. Rather, you're in it for a profit. And so setting up your kits and your services. Kits are really what we consider at DynaSCAPE within Manage 360 a grouping of materials, equipment, and labor that all goes towards doing a particular piece of work. So like um, a, a paver patio, within your kit, you're going to have your excavation work, you're going to have your base prep, you're going to have your installation, you're going to have all the materials and the labor, you're going to adjust for waste, all those kinds of things to go inside of that kit. And Manage 360 will tally up everything that all of your costs and apply your markup and your profit. And really, all you need to do is tell Manage 360 the size of that patio, how many square feet are going to be in that patio, and all of the other calculations happen in an automatic way with Manage 360. So creating and maintaining your kits is very important. Your services are really for your maintenance kind of work, your grounds maintenance, your garden maintenance, any kind of snow and ice management that you do. So setting up your services, which really your services are a culmination of kits and materials and labor that all go towards being able to perform that service for your client. And putting in the work now means easier life later. So one of the things about setting up Manage 360 is getting all of this information into the system, and then really getting it so that later on you're not constantly having to add stuff. Rather, you're making minor tweaks and adjustments to get things just so that you're firing on all cylinders as often and being as efficient as you possibly can. So what I'd like to do now is just go inside of Manage 360, and we'll show you around a bit. And we're going to take a look at the Costbook, and then once we get through the Costbook, I'm going to show you how to set up DynaSCAPE Design to link to Manage 360, so that when you're labeling, you can actually pull directly out of your Costbook here that we set up in Manage 360, and then be able to export your takeoffs and bring that back into Manage 360, so that the majority of your estimating is already done, and at the same time as your labeling. So inside of Manage 360, all we did was click on Costbook, and that brings us to our list of services, kits, all of our equipment, materials, plants, our plant sizes, all of our labor types, our crew types, subcontractors, and any kind of miscellaneous kind of items. So when we go and look at our plants, so we'll have a botanical name, common name, its size, the nursery or garden center you're getting it from, and a category, the cost, if it's a fixed price, and if it's been linked to the online plant database inside of DynaSCAPE Design. And so here you have this handy little icon that shows that there's a link, or down here we see that there's not a particular link to the online plant database in Manage 360 or in DynaSCAPE Design, but we can go ahead and do that. All you have to do is click on it and go through the prompts to get it connected. So you can do a full plant search from in here, but maintaining this is hugely important. And so under Common Actions, we allow for you to adjust your cost based on one plant or a selection of plants. You can match to the online plant database in a bulk way. You can change the category of a selection of plants, change their division. So if you want to change them from, let's say, your landscape design build division to your enhancements division, you can absolutely do that. You can change its fixed price. You can change the assigned profit margin. Any kind of purchasing tax or sales tax you can change. You can change its size as supplier. So if you have a long list of plants, you can filter based on that. Let's say you want to look at all the plants from a particular nursery, and you've decided that you're going to use a different nursery. You can select all of those plants and change the supplier and pick the nursery that you now like to get those plants from. You can change the unit type and warranty percentage, and you can even delete plants and archive them. And the difference between deleting and archiving, delete actually removes them from the system. Archive just makes them inactive and not able to be selected during the estimating process. Of course, you can add a new plant one by one, and we even allow for within settings. So we'll go to our settings page, and under Costbook settings, you can do an import for plants and materials. And here, when you use the template Excel file that we provide, you can use your entire current list and make any kind of changes you want, and then re-import that. And Manage 360 will then go and compare what's in Manage 360 versus your the file that you just uploaded, and it'll take all the changes that you made. So if it finds a naming change or a cost change, it'll apply that, and then you won't have to worry about going through one by one. You can do it all inside of the spreadsheet and then bring that back into Manage 360, which is really nice. So let's go back to the cost book, and let's take a look at kits. And so here we have a list of every single kit that we have in the system here, and each kit is developed individually. So when you do start with Manage 360, you're going to start with a blank slate here. This is essentially the secret sauce for how you do things, and so the way that you do things is going to be different from how your competitors in your trade area will do things. So it's very custom to you. Of course, there's going to be some commonality, but really the kits are something that you would develop on your own through assistance with your trainer and implementation specialist here at DynaSCAPE. So you can filter. So if we look at all of our construction kits and we apply a filter here. So here you have a bed prep with topsoil and mulch. So we'll go ahead and look at that. And like I said before, it includes all of the things that are part of what goes into doing that work. So there's a description, so like layout and bed location, apply topsoil, rototill, landscape beds until smooth, install a 3-inch layer of mulch, and treat beds with pre-emergent herbicide. And here's all the items that are in there. And so you can choose, adding a lead item means that you can choose which type of mulch. So if you have many types of mulch and they create a cost change, then you can select those, and that'll determine the price for the remainder of the kit based on the square footage. And so you have all the different types of mulch, bed prep as a labor, topsoil, the application of mulch, the herbicide, the pre-emergent, and then the walk-behind tiller. And it's based on a per square foot. So based on 500 square feet with any one of these particular types of mulch, for 500 square feet, we're looking at a total cost of $380 and a total price after markup and profit at $695. So those are all the things, and of course we can go ahead and clone that kit, and we can add items. So we click on add items. We get full access to all of our equipment, our materials, our plants, our labor, any subcontractors and miscellaneous items. So as part of this, if we want to add any kind of materials or any additional equipment, we can do that from here. So we'll go back to our cost book, and again, setting up our labor types. So, annual bed installation, appliance install. So like your outdoor kitchen appliance installation, asphalt install. So everything, every kind of type of work that you do could have a different labor type depending on um, what's involved. It would just make sense to have very specific labor types that way. And again, setting up your crew types. So you have your, for example, an enhancement crew, a hardscape crew, irrigation, landscape crew, maintenance crews, your snow and salting. If you do that, if you're in an area that has that gets snow, to be able to do that as well. And so now that we have all of the things as part of our cost book, um, we've got an estimate on the ready. So, I've created this estimate for a front yard planting that will match a drawing that set up inside of DynaSCAPE Design. So here in DynaSCAPE Design, we have this front yard planting design where the walkway and the driveway is existing, and we're going to do the front foundation planting with some trees. And so here I've got the design, and I've done some labeling. And inside of Manage 360, there's a way to connect it to DynaSCAPE Design, and from DynaSCAPE Design to Manage 360. So what we're going to do in the Softscape label tool, we're just going to click on that. And in settings, we're going to make sure that Manage 360 is checked. You'll put in the site URL that DynaSCAPE gives you when you invest in Manage 360. So it would be your company, 123landscaping.dynascapemanage.com. You'd be given a username and a password, and you would go ahead and log in. And once you do that, now it does a connection to Manage 360. And so when we look at, let's say, a Winter Gem boxwood, it's going to go ahead and search, and this is going to come directly out of your cost book. And the same is true for the hardscape label tool. So when you go and click on that, it looks like a series of pavers. Just go ahead and click on that. And you'll want to select Use Estimating Labels. And under Settings, the same thing. Check Manage 360, and you'll put in the URL that DynaSCAPE has given you, and you'll log in, and you'll hit OK. And now we have full access to all of our kits. So, when you go down into construction, it's going to pull a list of all of the kits that are inside of Manage 360. And so here's that bed prep with topsoil and mulch with all of the options for mulch to select. And so the same way we have that here, I'll just go and show you back in Manage 360. Here's all the options that we have for mulch, and here they are exactly in DynaSCAPE Design. So we are using our Manage 360 estimating labels as part of that. So being able to connect that is hugely powerful, because now when I did go and did the takeoff over here, so when I select this area, here's our total mulch area and our bed prep that we're going to create. I did the takeoff, and I see I've got approximately 300 square feet for our bed prep and installation with topsoil and mulch. And so when we go ahead and do this, so the way that you'll be able to select everything that you want to do is this little icon here. And in the description, it says group labels into work areas for quotation. And excuse me, inside of Manage 360, you can set up your estimate based on work areas. And so here we're going to have two work areas. We're going to have bed installation, prep, and mulch, and planting and install. And so we can see all the labels that are this blue color, like our bed prep with topsoil and mulch, will be under this work area. And anything that's this light green, like all of our plants here, will be under planting and installation. So once we have all of those done, you can go ahead and go File, Export, DynaSCAPE, Manage Export File, and we're going to save that, and we'll hit Save, and yes, and we want to override it. Then we're going to go back into Manage 360, and we're going to go into this shell of an estimate that we have so far, and we're going to go under Actions and Import. And from here, now we're going to be able to import the design file that we just created. And so we're going to bring that in, and we'll hit OK, and we'll hit Upload. And now it has all of the information that we have as part of our drawing. And so we have all of the plants, including the labor, and our 300 square feet of bed installation prep with topsoil and mulch with the appropriate kit. So we'll hit Submit, and it's going to bring all of that information into our estimate now in the way that we organized it as part of our drawing. And so we'll bring in, and now we see planting and installation and bed installation prep and mulch. I like to have the installation of the bed first, so I'm just going to rearrange that, and then we'll do the planting. So as part of that, based on 300 square feet of bed installation prep and mulch, we're looking at 6.5 labor hours. And with the planting and installation, we have 19 hours, so 25.5 labor hours at a total cost of $10,300, total price at $14,000. Because of the way that we have our budget set up with our profit margin around 20%, Manage 360 is going to do its absolute best to get to that profit margin. And here we're just about right on, adding any kind of general conditions like load and unload time, mobilization. That's all going to affect our estimate here. And so we should do that. We should add an admin. We should add all of those things. So we'll hit update estimate, and it's going to add general conditions to all of that based on the day that we're going to be there. And so again, it's changed our profit a little bit. So let's go ahead and change that back to 20, and it's going to just recalculate things on the fly, and we'll hit save. And then from there, we're just going to tweak it a little bit to get it how we want. But for the most part, we've got quite a bit of our estimate already done. So we've got all of the information with our bed prep kit, our load and unload, our warranty, our truck, any kind of miscellaneous or perennial planting, everything that we need as part of our full day is here. And we can go ahead and get our payment options set up. So we've got a 50-50 split on the payment. You can set it up however you want. We've got a number of different payment options set, but these are all customizable. So I have a 50-50. You can set it up so it's a third, a third, a third, 10% up front, 40 draw, and 10% at the end. However you want to set that up, you can totally do that. I have it as a deposit, and then we'll set, instead of progress payment, we'll say upon commencement of work. And we'll save that. And so now, when the client signs the deal, we'll ask for the deposit of 50% up front. And then when we start the work, we'll ask for another 50%. And I know a lot of landscape companies, they do it a lot of different ways. So that's why we've made this very flexible so that you can change that. And in fact, if you want to do that based on a percentage of completion, so if it's a larger project, when you're, do a deposit, and then when you're 15% of the way through, 20% of the way through, whatever milestones you want to set or whatever percentages you want to set, is when you can have your invoices ready to go. And then from here, we can view the proposal. And so I always like to set up a proposal by telling your potential client why they should love you. So start out with a section at the beginning, giving them all the reasons why they should absolutely choose you to do the work, why you're qualified to do that. Make that your mini sales pitch within that. Then tell them what you're going to do. And then at the end, you're going to give them your terms and conditions. So that's essentially the contract part of the proposal. And then you can go ahead and view the proposal. And what will happen here is you'll get a Word file that gets exported. So we'll just go ahead and open that, and we'll show you what that all looks like. So we have our front yard planting project, and here's all the reasons why you should fall in love with us. And you have the bed installation and the planting install for the grand total. You'll sign here and here. Here's your payment schedule, and then here's all the terms and conditions. And then of course, on every page, an opportunity to initial to make sure that the client understands what they are reading. And so really that's design, build, estimating. And inside of Manage 360, you'll notice that we have construction estimating and maintenance estimating. And estimating for the two are fundamentally different, and we know that, and that's why you would have a completely separate type of estimating system within Manage 360. So we absolutely appreciate your time and everything that all of your effort to stick with us during our webinar series. My name is Joe Salemi. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Product Marketing Manager. My email address is there. My extension is there as well. If you have any questions or feedback, we absolutely love feedback. So please get in touch with me, and if you have any questions, we'll put you through to our implementation training specialist or one of our account managers, and make sure that all of your questions are answered. If you have any suggestions for me, I'd love to hear them. Stay tuned next week for our fourth part in our webinar series here, where we're going to focus on managing the contract and getting your job into production. Thanks so much again for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.